So, we were talking about the what? Sharing secret. Living proof. That's right. Young and without. Asking the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas to remain. But was oh, I see. Okay. I don't know. I'm sure many of you. I can see actually one or two faces. His name is Gyawakarmapa 16th Rigdorje. I guess this is not really, you know how Tibetans can be very critical, especially the intellectual ones. So the Tibetans have this thing, 16 Karmapa is not really considered well versed. He's not, I don't know, he sometimes can't even read his, initiation text properly, or, he can't, all this philosophy, discourses and all of that. But no matter what, I had the, I must say, with I was very lucky that I had an old attendant who used to be Chaitanya Chokroda's student, and because he was my attendant, he was really kind. He really brought me to many of these great masters. So myself, I had the opportunity to receive lots of teachings from 16 Karmapa. I have to say, people can say what they want, like he's not well versed or he can't do the philosophical discourse. But just the presence of him, just him appearing suddenly on the throne or something like that, is amazing. He doesn't even have to verbally teach. Actually, come to think of it, only now, maybe not those days I was very young, didn't really appreciate all of this, but only now I'm beginning to appreciate that the teachings doesn't have to be verbal or philosophical. His presence, and that was not only me. There were so many others. Of course, the Tibetans, but Westerners. During those days, the Dharma was just beginning in the West, and there are people who are really from this university, that university, completely intellectually stubborn and egomaniac people. But when they saw His Karmapa, they, without receiving any teachings, they will just change something. It just opens up. And I come, thinking back, I can really understand the presence of the great masters, the Buddha, so important. Days and days and days and years of Khenpos and intellectuals and scholars and teaching you with all this, I think in Bhutanese expression it's called verbal diarrhea. Like what I've been doing past 8 mornings. Is that 8? Verbal diarrhea, basically, logic, all of that. Maybe manage to convince one person for one morning. I may try hard to convince you, and then it convinces you for one morning, and the moment you leave this room, finished, gone, nothing. But you walk into someone like Swami Karmapa's place, she does something to you, remains in your head so much, so long. Maybe I'm being too, I forgot the words now. Anyway, the first time I saw him, because I was very young, in Rumtek Monastery. Usually, anyway, whenever we meet him, the way he referred to us is always a little bit like, it's affection, but he uses very rough language. Hey, where have you been? What are you up to now? Something like that. But anyway, first time ever, when I saw his Holiness Karmapa, I was very young, but I clearly remember this. He gave me 2 presents. Toy. It's amazing, isn't it? He gave me a lion made out of some granite, and then he gave me a deer made out of wood. And he said, "You keep this," and something like. He said he will do. I don't remember completely, but he said that he will do prayers that I will have a certain quality, something to do with a deer and a lion. Unfortunately, being who I am, I have lost that deer. I still have the lion. I've lost that deer. And till today, whenever I think of this, it's so powerful. It's like, actually, sometimes even create a little bit of sort of guilt and paranoia and a little bit of for having lost that deer. Because now I kind of think that the deer may have represent the compassion or something, and that's it. It's gone. But anyway, I'm talking about this one's Karmapa was really. I don't know, somehow this thing came in my mind because it is actually in Kathmandu, it's in Bodhana, where I spent quite a lot of time. I had the really opportunity to even actually follow, actually thanks to this tutor or this attendant. I had the opportunity to walk with him to Stupa, circumambulating 2:30 in the morning, because you see his Holiness Karmapa, during the daytime it's almost impossible for him to walk on the walk, but 2:30 in the morning. So, just telling you the presence of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas doesn't have to do anything. Just because who they are and how they exist, I guess, how they manifest, it kind of living proof, and that is so important during the time like this, where wrong view is so much there. In fact, the wrong view is so difficult to defeat by logic. Really impossible. In fact, other way around, better you get with the logic, almost that you end up becoming better with a wrong view. You become sharper with that. So, physical presence and evidence to inspire you That is, I think, it's really, really important. So that's it. And then I think the dedication. I think we talked about the rest. These are the practice of application bodhicitta for people like us who cannot really engage with grand applications such as giving our limbs and flesh and blood to tigers. This is what we can do. And this is actually really easy to do. You can depend on a specific literature such as the beginning part of the Samantabhadras prayers or many other liturgy. But also you can just, prostrations, offerings, confessions, so on and so forth. You can just, think, visualize. You make your own liturgy, so to speak. This is what we can do. Okay, so what we have been mainly talking about is relative bodhicitta. And then, of course, as we talked quite in a lengthy way, ultimate bodhicitta is indispensable. We call it temptations15, ultimate bodhicitta. Which is none other than the fourth point, which is if you have grasping, you have no view. Okay, now another thing. The Shenpa Shidal, Lojong Shenpa Shidal, this mind training, is a very practical tip instructions. As a supporting to this teachings, you can actually explore teachings like Nangtum, the triple perception or something like that. And especially those who have connection to the Virupa lineage, if you feel, we have different connection to different beings, different deities, different Mahasiddhas. If you think that the name of the Virupa is inspiring you, certain accounts of his life, such as drinking excessively without payment, if this kind of thing first inspires you. Also, of course, Dromni Gotsawa, Sachin Pingahingo, and all of these, if you feel like you have a certain connection with his lineage, there is the gradual and complete path of what we call the path and fruit. Basically, it is the concise, the complete, comprehensive path, gradual path, which leads to. Well, of course, we are talking about the Tantra. Eventually a tantric path, but as part of the lojong or the preliminary training, there is a teaching called triple perception, which is basically a big complement to this teaching. These two will complement each other. For some of you who have already received these teachings, such as triple perception, I'm sure you will know. Approaching the spiritual path approaching to the spiritual path with this diagram of triple perception is very beautiful, actually. It's a wonderful sort of way to it's a really good mapping system, sort of. Like spiritual path, you need a little bit of a mapping of, like, I think in the business schools, you always get this kind of training, like you categorize things, right? You have all this like categorization or mapping. Triple perception is such a wonderful way of mapping the spiritual path. And because we are now going to talk about the fourth point, and also the others, again, we will visit here and there, I like to actually bring the triple perception here a little bit, just so that you will maybe sort of have a wish to explore and bigger, I don't know, arena or something like that. As I said yesterday, the Virupa lineage has a lot of influence from Yogacharya school. In fact, some other schools, they even make fun of, the Sakipa school has a little bit of a Chittamata influence. Definitely, it is a school that really make a big deal out of perception. Perception is a very big deal. In fact, other than perception, there's nothing. Perception is the only thing that we have. And when we talk about perception, this maybe it's not really well translated as a perception, vision, I don't know. All these words are not adequate, I think. Perception includes everything, basically the sound, the taste, feeling, basically anything that can be perceived by your mind, perceptions. Within that context, the Virupa lineage really makes a big deal out of perception. Okay? I'm bringing this up because we need to talk about the ultimate bodhicitta, which is none other than the fourth point. Okay. This example, I think, is good. The classic Mahayana example of, someone whose subject or whose mind has a defect. Okay, so a conch. You're looking at a conch. Okay, so 3 stages. Okay, you are looking at a conch. But you have jaundice or some kind of a disease that sees the conch not in its original form, yellowish, let's say, because you have the disease, something like a jaundice. So when you look at the conch, you see it as yellow, and then therefore you cling it as a yellow. That's what the subject lineage call it, impure perception. Impure because, first of all, the subject has a defect, of course, because of the jaundice. Therefore, the object yellow, although it is not yellow, you see it as yellow, is not true. It's false. Of course, the zimba or the clinging or the attachment that this is a yellow is, of course, impure. It's not perfect. So this experience of looking at a conch with a jaundice and thinking it's a yellow is an impure perception. Okay, that's one. Then the person who has a jaundice, go to a doctor And this doctor says, look, you have a jaundice. You are not seeing things clearly. Actually, you have a problem with your perception. So you need to eat this medicine, do this kind of treatment.